Hello and welcome back to our tutorial series. On this episode, we're going to do something rather fun. A lot of modern movies have shots that were filmed in daylight, but made to look like they were filmed at nighttime through a process called color grading. And we're going to do something similar with this picture before us. This was taken by a photographer named Dani Faridi. He was using a Nikon D7000 and a 70-200 2.8 lens. So he takes his photography rather seriously, and you can tell that because his horizon line is perfectly straight. Or level, I guess. But we want to come in here and maybe crop it because these pillars, to me, are a distraction. So let's pull this up, and actually we should always turn off this lock if we want to have full freedom to change the aspect ratio. And we'll do something like that so that the boats in the ocean kind of take up the bottom third of the image, and then the top 2/3 are the clouds. And I'm doing that because I want the clouds to be the subject of this image. When we're done, I want this to look kind of like a stormy, ominous scene. So we want these guys to be the main subject, casting doom and gloom down here on the boaters. So let's double check. Yeah, I want to be on camera standard because that's what I prefer to use. And actually, before we do any like main big picture adjustments like we usually start with, I'm going to go up here and select the graduated filter because we really want to get these clouds looking good before we start off with anything else. So I'm going to hold the shift key to keep things level, and we're going to pull it down. In fact, I might just grab this little thing and pull it down. We want it to mostly focus on the clouds, but also do a little bit of the ocean since the ocean is reflecting the sky. So I kind of like what we're doing here already with the exposure and the clarity, but I think we should probably boost up the highlights to really give the clouds a little bit more dimension. In fact, let's come in here and add some contrast. I think that might be a good place to start for now. We can always come back and adjust that later. In fact, before we move any farther, I think I'm going to do one more graduated filter that's mostly going to focus on the clouds. So let's pull it down around there, get rid of that exposure. In fact, let's bring the exposure up. We want the clouds to really be kind of bright. We want to draw your eye up there to the top end. Let's pull highlights back up again. And let's see. Clarity is probably a good place. Let's try dropping the shadows and see what that does. Okay, it adds a little bit of a bevel here to the bottom side of the clouds. I kind of like that. Let's leave it here for now, and if we want to make any adjustments, we can always come back. In fact, I'm going to pull it down just a bit. All right, so with that, we've got the clouds set up. We should work on the rest of the picture. What we saw when we did the graduated filter was that contrast looked really great. So let's actually boost that up quite a bit, and then maybe even come in here and pull down the highlights, because I think they're actually looking a little strong for the overall picture. We want to have something that looks, like I said, very ominous by the end. I'm going to bring up the shadows since the boats and everything down there probably are going to get lost when I come in here and grab the blacks and drop them down. So there we go. Now we're already starting to see what this could look like by the end. We're going to come in here with clarity, jack that up, maybe even grab some vibrance to really make that blue pop. All right, so that's looking pretty good right there. Let's jump down to our detail slider. And you guys know that I like 50, but we should be very conscious about the masking here. I don't know if you can see it, but in the sky, we've already got quite a bit of noise because of that 50, and there's no reason for the sky to have any kind of sharpening applied. So remember, on a PC, you hold down Alt and grab this masking bar, and as you slide it up, you can see that what we really probably only want are the boats and the ocean. Something around there should work for us, and that should take care of most of that noise. We can actually touch that up a little bit later. In fact, let's just grab a little bit of this luminance right now. Let's maybe add 10 as a base for this image. Probably won't do anything with lens correction since it's a fairly long way shot. Maybe what we could do, though, is come in here with a vignette and jack up the feather. Give it, again, kind of a peripheral boundary that your eyes are drawn towards the center. And I think that's actually looking pretty good. What we should do, though, one of the big things about color grading is obviously dealing with temperature. So as we grab this temperature slider and bring it down, the blues come out in a way that we haven't previously seen. It actually looks quite awesome. In fact, there's a little bit of purple here in the clouds, so I'm thinking this tint needs to come down a little bit. There we go. That's looking pretty awesome. Although I feel now that the clouds almost look CG, like they're not actually being lit correctly. Like, where's the sun in this picture? I have no idea. What we can do is maybe go up here and grab this filter we applied to the clouds, and maybe actually raise up the color, or the temperature a little bit. This gives it the appearance that maybe the sun is out here on the left, casting some light across the clouds. In fact, that looks pretty good. Although now that I'm looking at it, this is pretty yellow relative to this side, and this seems to be fairly light compared to this side. So what we might do is grab another graduated filter. Oh, geez, we'll adjust that. Pull this in, drop that down. Let's maybe take, I don't know, shadows. Let's bring shadows down, and then maybe even take the temperature down. How does that look? Look a bit more even? I think that evened it out pretty well. Again, this shadow in here, or the noise in here, is maybe a little bit of a distraction, especially if you're going to print this out. So you might want to come in here. Oh, let's grab noise. This noise slider is weird. If you increase it, you're actually decreasing noise. So it's a little bit inverse to what you might think. And if we come in here, make sure auto mask is on. And as we draw across this open section of sky, the auto mask is going to keep it from painting over the clouds. And let's see what that looks like. That really looks much better. All right. In fact, I'm inclined to say that that's pretty much done. We have a lot of, like I said, dimensionality to the clouds. We've got this nice ominous seascape. These guys should probably not venture out any farther. In fact, I'm going to do one quick little adjustment. I think that this needs to be pulled down a little bit because the clouds aren't having uniform color cast along that lower edge. All right, that's looking pretty good. All right, so you ready for the before and after? It's going to be pretty extreme. There's the before, and there's the after. And again, this isn't accurate to what the scene looked like when it was taken, but as artists, we are free to kind of do whatever we want. So I like where that picture ended up, and hopefully you do too. If you have any comments or criticism, please leave them below. All right, we look forward to seeing you again next week for another episode.